Hey guys, Captain Foley here, and today we're going to be talking about The Force Awakens. Now, this is the spoiler-free, or not spoiler-free, this is the spoiler-filled, spoiler, reaction video and just discussion, because I've already done the spoiler-free one earlier, so check it out if you haven't already. This is going to be full of spoilers. I got my Darth Vader Join Me shirt on. So join me in the spoilers, if you will. If you haven't seen the movie, go see it, then come back and watch this. Definitely beneficial. I just have a lot to talk about. I got a list of stuff. I just want to get right to it. And it's not gonna be in order, sequential order as far as the movie goes. I'm just gonna start talking about certain points, and it'll lead into whatever it leads into. So it's gonna be back and forth as far as the movie timeline goes. So don't worry about it. First thing first. R2D2's scene was stupid. Needed a lot more of him. The fact that he was sleeping or in low power mode for years was just retarded. I understand that he's his own sentient being and he can kind of do what he wants. Now, there's theories and speculations that when you see Luke's hand on his head, it's actually Luke using the Force to give him instructions. Which makes sense, and it makes sense that he was in low power mode for years, I guess. But he needed to wake up earlier in the movie. I needed to see more R2D2. R2D2 is my favorite character, as you probably know if you follow me. So to have him in the movie as little as he was not very satisfying, and quite frankly pissed me off. I was concerned from the beginning. As soon as I saw BB-8 was in it, I'm like, I'm boycotting BB-8. I immediately don't like him. He's going to be the Jar Jar of the new franchise, or the new trilogy. But as I saw more and more of him in the trailers and whatnot, I started to kind of like the little guy, and then I saw the movie, and now I like BB-8, but I do not want him replacing R2-D2. That is not cool, and yeah. It's interesting the way they utilized R2-D2 at the end to wake up, solve the problem, save the day again, as R2-D2 does, and then go with Chewie and Rey to find Luke. Now, that's cool that BB-8 stayed behind with C-3PO. That means that C-3PO and BB-8 are going to show up in the next movie, and they're going to be buddy-buddy hanging out together, and all three are going to be united, all droids, and it should be interesting. I just want to have R2-D2 have a bigger role in the next two movies. That's something that really I feel needs to happen, because R2-D2, I think, me personally, I feel that Star Wars is R2-D2's story. If it wasn't for R2-D2, like, he's tied everybody together. He's been the common thread throughout. So we need more R2-D2. Don't be putting him on the sideline and having somebody else take his role as the sidekick, comedy relief kind of droid thing. R2-D2 is amazing. Best of times, worst of times. He's awesome. But him just sitting there collecting dust was A, depressing, and B, I mean, they're probably going to explain it a little bit better, I hope. But yeah. So, and anything I comment on, if you guys want to comment in the comments below, don't go ahead and feel free. Don't worry about spoilers or saying anything that I missed or anything, because anybody that's watching this already knows that it's going to be spoiler filled, so they, are reading the comments at their own risk, right? Sorry, I need my coffee. Had an interesting morning, so with some admin duties, so I'm not in the best of moods. Now, the opening scene with Bo Dameron, or whatever his name is, the X-Wing pilot, and that old man needed more explanation. I don't know who that old man was, why that was a thing, and apparently that old man is going to be in the next movie. I don't know if it's as a Force ghost or if it's a flashback scene. So it just needed more explanation. And we needed to find out what happened in those missing years between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. Now, there is that Robot Chicken sketch where, it's like, oh, we have to quit now. We have to give up because the rebels, they destroyed the Death Star. And the guy's like, so? No, but you don't understand. They killed the Emperor and Darth Vader as well. We need to like stop empiring, basically. And yeah, so well, we have hundreds of ships and thousands of troops all over the galaxy. Exactly. So it's interesting. I want to find out exactly what happened. I think the Empire or the First Order is still too big. It should have been more splintered, I think. I mean, this is 30 years later, I guess, so they could have reestablished their grip. But I mean, it wasn't explained well enough, and I'm sure it will be. I know there's two more movies coming. It's a new trilogy. You have to wait now 2 years instead of 3 years, which was what it was originally for the original trilogy. But it's there's a lot of unanswered questions, and that's uneasy for me. And I know it's going to be taken care of and sorted out as they do, because it was done beautifully. But we're of that generation where when I really started watching these movies, they were pretty much all made. So it would just be, oh, that one's over. Let's put in the next VHS tape and watch the next one. And this generation is going to rip their hair out because they're used to like watching a whole season of a TV show all at once. They can't wait 2 years. So, but we're going to have to. It's an interesting experience that my kids don't understand. I do understand it, although I'm frustrated with it. I'm more of a I want it now kind of guy, but I mean, who isn't, right? So there's that part. Now, Kylo Ren, a lot of people are going on about how dynamic and how how interesting a villain he is. I think he's a moron. He's an immature little spoiled brat who never once intimidated me during that movie. He doesn't get his way. He throws a little fit and destroys his computer screens with his lightsaber. Like, seriously? Ooh, it's scary because you have a bad temper. Ooh. You're not intimidating. You're not Darth Vader. You look silly without your helmet. You look silly with your helmet because your helmet, it's just too short. It doesn't look intimidating to me. With the hood up, it looks all right. But without the hood, no. And you're just a whiny little brat who's got too much power and doesn't know how to use it properly. And that's not intimidating to me. That it's scary in its own way. It's scary because he has so much power and he doesn't know how to use it. So it's like, oh, we piss him off and we're dead. That kind of intimidation. It's not, oh my God, that guy is powerful and he's just going to rip us a new a-hole like it was with Vader. Now, Vader was much more older, much more established. He had been dark siding for a while, so his force abilities and his whatever were more established. So I get it. I do. We don't know how long. So it's been 30 years. Let's say he was born a year after Return of the Jedi. So he's 29. You would assume he would have started training. Well, Jedi start training young, as Anakin was actually too old to begin the training. So let's say he's been Jediing for 25 years. Well, how many years of those were in training with Luke? We just don't know. So there's still a lot to learn about Kylo Ren. As of right now, he's a bad guy, but he's not anything intimidating to me. He doesn't have the same Darth Vader feel or even Darth Maul feel or General Grievous feel or anything. I mean, those guys were legit scary for different reasons. This guy is just not to me. He does not come off as intimidating, scary, anything. So take that for what it's worth. Now, as far as the pivotal point in the movie where Han dies, spoilers, he, first of all, you kind of knew it was coming because Harrison Ford wanted the character dead since Empire, and then in Return of the Jedi, he wanted him dead. And so I think part of the new contract was, yeah, I'll do your movie, JJ, if I can die, if I can kill the character. So we kind of all knew that was coming. But at the same time, I mean, Chewbacca has a life debt to Han, and I anticipated that they were either both going to die or just Chewie was going to die protecting Han, and then Han would maybe die in the next movie. Now, there's rumors floating around, too, that I've heard that Harrison Ford has signed on to do the next movie. Once again, I don't know if it's going to just be flashbacks or what that's going to all be involved. So I would just assume it's flashbacks, and maybe they'll CGI him up to look a little younger, which always looks creepy. So I don't know. I don't even know if he's going to be in the next one. I can't see him actually wanting to be in the next one. I mean, you offer him enough money, maybe, but he really hates that character and he hates the franchise. And lately, I've become very disillusioned with Harrison Ford just because of some of his snarky, rude comments to reporters and people and Star Wars fans that are just honestly doing their job and asking him questions. Like, you don't have to be rude and obnoxious and an asshole. I mean, that's kind of how William Shatner is in a way. But I mean, William Shatner's kind of mellowed out in his later years, and he's not so bad about it now. But this is the character that made you who you are and made you have the lifestyle that you have now. It provided you with everything you have and your career. Be a little bit respectful of it and don't be an asshole. I get it. You don't enjoy the character. You don't like being bothered by Star Wars fans. I get it. But you know what? That's your job. Suck it up, fuzzball. So yeah, I really anticipated that Chewie was going to die protecting Han, and they would have died together, which I think would have been amazing. Would have made it more impactful. And I know Peter Mayhew's getting old, so I thought that they were going to get rid of Chewie early on. Now I know there's another actor that did the more active Chewie parts, because Mayhew you can't. So I mean, they can carry Chewie on because of the suit and stuff. You don't have to have the same actor per se, but it just wouldn't. If Mayhew dies between now and like the last one, heaven forbid, I just won't be able to look at the character the same way. So I thought they were for sure going to get rid of Mayhew and Chewie, but they didn't, and it is what it is, right? It is interesting at the same time that him and Rey are now partners, I guess. Although, yeah, I got another theory about that in just a second about what's going to happen in the next movie, but I got a whole list of things here, so we're just going to move on to the next one. Starkiller Base was fucking stupid. Okay, was it a space station that had an atmosphere added to it, or was it a planet that was hollowed out and the space built into it? That's what I would assume it is. Which raises the question, how could the thing move? It's a planet. I guess you could, theoretically, maybe, put an engine on the other side of the planet and move the planet, but that would shear away the atmosphere. There would be nothing living on the planet. I mean, you see trees and things, and if it was floating through space from system to system to collect star power, it just doesn't make sense, because all that plant life and everything would die, and the atmosphere would probably get ionized and evaporated and just off into space. So it would just become a dead rock floating through space with a base attached to it. Or it would stay in its orbit and only have one sun to draw power from, and only to be able to destroy ships or planets in its own system. So the whole Starkiller Base, stupid idea, JJ. It's another Death Star. It's a third one. Why? It's not even cleverly thought out. You could have done so much better. I mean, even Star Trek had a Dyson sphere. And if you don't watch Star Trek, you don't know what I'm talking about. A Dyson sphere is a structure which is built around a sun that has like living quarters and plant life and all that on the interior edge. So the sun is in the middle. This thing is huge, and the sun heats them and provides them life and all that. And that could have been used to maneuver, perhaps, with the sun in the center, some kind of force field helping the sun move. And they could constantly draw power from the sun instead of draining it for each shot. You know what I mean? So take it for what it is. It's just Starkiller Base was absolutely stupid. I love the name Starkiller, though, because it harkens back to Luke Skywalker. We're supposed to be Luke Starkiller. So it's interesting, that little tie-in. But no, stop with the big bases, please. Have a big super weapon Star Destroyer with a big cannon in the middle of it or something. I don't know. something that can actually move and be threatening. I don't know. The planet just doesn't do it for me. Like, they keep going bigger and bigger, and you think the Empire would learn its lesson. Now that leads kind of into the next thing, where J.J. Abrams did a good job on the movie in a lot of aspects, but in the same way, J.J. Abrams is a very unimaginative hack. And I'm going to get a lot of flack for that. Here we go. But he ruined Star Trek because he can't think of any original thoughts in his brain. The only original thought he had was the New Enterprise, and that was just an ugly abomination piece of shit. So, no. But, I mean, Into Darkness was just a rehashing of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. I mean, all The Force Awakens really is just a rehashing of A New Hope. You got the super weapon that you got to destroy by flying into it and shooting it. It's a little more complex this time because you need ground assault force as well. But you did in the first one too. You needed to lower the shields. That's what Ben was doing, right? So, or releasing the tractor beam, sorry. But anyway, you need people on the ground and in the air destroying this thing. That's exactly what happens. You've got the droid that has all the vital information that the Rebel Alliance needs. You've got the desert planet where they find their hero who doesn't know they're going to be a hero and doesn't like the life they have. And it's just too many similarities, JJ. I know you're trying to go with a tried and true method, something that works, and I appreciate that. I understand that, but you can do that without copying everything verbatim, which is pretty much what you did. You just kind of put a new skin on it, a new flashiness on it. And I don't know about you, but I like seeing Han again. Absolutely, I love seeing Chewbacca again. I love seeing Leia again. She sounds like a man. She sounds like she's smoked one too many death sticks. I can't see Princess Leia the character smoking. But goddamn, she's got a raspy, harsh voice. I don't know whether she was breathing in some kind of planetary fog on one of the rebel base planets or something, but her voice is atrocious. Can't you fix that somehow? I mean, they got auto-tune. Can't they use that somehow to make her sound like the old Princess Leia? It's one of my biggest pet peeves, actually, with the movie. I know, I realize they're older and they don't look like they used to, but Carrie Fisher used to be a little haughty. And now, I get that. She lost a lot of weight for this role as well, but still, just a little pet peeve annoyance that I noticed. So take it for what it is. You watch these because you like to hear my thoughts on things, not what I think you want me to hear. I'm not going to be politically correct just for the sake of being politically correct. I am me. That's why you're here, is to enjoy Captain Foley's honest view on things. I hope. All right, so I think Finn is absolutely awesome, by the way. Or FN2187, as you all know him, but later it becomes Finn. Finn is awesome. I absolutely loved Finn. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about Finn going into it, but he's an awesome character. Absolutely love his all his little foibles, the fact that he's human and scared and uncertain and, wants to do the right thing, but interesting character, very dynamic. I really like that. He is one of the main characters in this. Rey, Finn, and Poe Dameron are absolutely amazing. I love absolutely every one of them, and they were all great casting. So yeah, the cast is absolutely great. I definitely like Finn. He's an enjoyable character. Kind of a shame what happens to him at the end. I don't know how injured he's going to be if he's going to need a whole new spine, because he kind of got a slice up the back. And despite what a lot of people thought, I did not think that he was the Force user in, or the next Force guy based on the trailers and whatnot. I thought it was going to be Rey, so a lot of people were like, "Whoa, it was such a surprise that Finn wasn't the guy." And I'm like, "Well, it's because you saw him holding a lightsaber? Really?" I mean, the one scene where he's kind of taking on the stormtrooper with that stick or whatever the stormtrooper had, I thought, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he is actually the Force user, because to actually wield a lightsaber and more than once is kind of But for a second, I doubted it for a second, but that was it. And then I saw it, and I'm like, well, I feel justified now, because that's kind of what I thought the whole time. So, but no, Finn's absolutely great. And I gotta wonder, is in the next movie, is kind of what I mentioned earlier. In the next movie, is Lando Calrissian going to come back, learning that Han died, to avenge his friend's death and join Chewbacca to destroy Kylo Ren? I mean, that would be amazingly awesome and would make perfect sense. But speaking of Lando, is Lando, in fact, Finn's father? Maybe because Finn got taken away by stormtroopers or the Empire early in his life when he was young, and he never really knew his family. So it could be that Lando is indeed his father, which would be very cool tie-in. And I think that's where they're going with it. I don't want to say that 100%, but I just have this feeling that that's probably what it's going to be. Assuming that Lando is in any of these movies, which I think he is. I'm not sure. I think I've heard that he signed on for it, but anyway. Rey is absolutely fantastic. First of all, Daisy Ridley is gorgeous, a stunning woman. I love watching her. I could stare at her for hours. So to see her in such a great, dynamic, strong role is just incredible. I mean, we're going to be seeing so much more of her. I'm looking forward to that. So, like I said, the casting is phenomenal. And can you believe that JJ, the first couple days on set with her acting, told her that her acting was wooden and that she was, in danger of losing that role? I can't. I mean, she's phenomenal. Awesome. And the fact that they used virtually unknown actors to do these roles, much like they did with the original one, is an incredible idea. And I thank JJ for that. Because to have anybody of note that already has an established career, I think would have been not necessarily a mistake, but it's just nice to see new, fresh young faces that we can watch grow and develop. So that's amazing. One of the coolest things in this, which I know I've talked about Kylo Ren not being intimidating, but when you first see him, he kind of is, especially when that laser bolt gets fired and he uses the Force to stop a laser bolt in midair. And then goes on to have a conversation and deal with business with this thing still frozen in midair. That was fantastic. You'd never seen the Force done like that before. I mean, the Force has this fresh new take on it now. I absolutely love that. I thought that was amazing. And the fact that he could draw his attention away from it, and that it finally got released so long after he walked away, I thought was great. Like, I did not see that kind of Force power coming. I mean, that opens up so many possibilities now. And the fact that he can freeze someone in place. Like, I've always wondered that when I was a kid about the other movies. If you have the Force, why don't you just, hold somebody in place while you take care of them, kind of deal. So it was interesting to see that aspect brought into it as well. So, I mean, the new Force stuff is just great. Good job, JJ, again. Phasma was underused. Hopefully she's going to be shown more in the next movies. Her armor was amazing. I expected to see more of her. I expected to see her without her helmet on, but we got to see her kind of chastise Finn, tell him to report for rehabilitation or whatever. And then we saw her basically lower the shield and I guess get put in a trash compactor maybe. Hopefully she's not dead. I'm pretty sure she'll be in the next movie, but yeah, the armor is amazing. She's a tall woman, but the armor is amazing. She's basically the Boba Fett of the new movies so far. One or two lines, not very much, and doesn't really do much, and kind of gets taken care of early. I don't know. It's just interesting, great character, and I hope to see more of her. So, Poe Dameron was absolutely fantastic. I did not go in expecting to like him as much as I did. He is somebody that I just want to hang out with and like just be friends with. I mean, he's an amazing, amazing guy. And the fact that he wasn't in the movie that much bothered me a little bit. After you see him again, when he comes back, he's like, oh yeah, he's so friendly, and you're like, oh my god, I missed you. Why weren't you in this more? Hopefully you see more of him in the next couple movies. I mean, I could have watched a whole movie with him on screen the whole time. He was just that good. Uh, so next is C-3PO. I think he was handled fairly well. Still annoying, getting in Han Solo's face between him and Leia was kind of funny. Oh, you might not recognize me. I have a new arm. Ha! I would have liked to see a little more of him, perhaps. And the fact that he kind of just given up on R2, I can't see 3PO doing that. I mean, I'm sure 3PO for years was like trying to get R2 out of his coma, I guess. I don't know. That's all I have to say about that, I guess. And the end of the movie, what we really needed, like it was becoming pretty evident that Luke was not going to really be in the movie that much. And I said since day one, I bet you any money, but what's going to happen is the whole movie's going to be searching for Luke, and at the end they're going to find him, and then it's going to roll credits. I've said that all along. You can ask any of my friends, because I've been saying that for a while now. But I was hoping against hope, sitting in that movie theater, that I was wrong, because I wanted to hear Luke talk. I wanted to hear something. I mean, just to see him and have him turn around and put the cloak down and have his one hand be the robotic arm. It's just awesome, but it needed more. He needed... When she held up the lightsaber, I expected the lightsaber to like slowly float towards him and him to grab it and look back at her. Like something like that needed to happen, or some line of dialogue. Welcome, daughter, whatever. I don't know if she's his daughter, but I mean, that makes sense. So, and why would he leave her behind on Jakku? Who knows? There's reasons for it, I'm sure, but it needed dialogue from Luke. It needed something to happen at the end. I think just even the simple fact of the lightsaber changing hands from Rey to Luke via the Force would have said a lot, would have been very impactful, and that just didn't happen. Like, I needed another 10-15 minutes of movie, in my opinion, after we saw Luke, and I could have handled it because the movie was just fantastic as far as pacing and stuff goes, but I go on to talk about that in just a second. So, and the fact that R2-D2 wasn't with Rey when she ran into Luke. I would have liked to see R2-D2 with Rey, because, I mean, R2-D2 and Luke are like buddy-buddy, right? So to have him be with her, I mean, Luke obviously knows that R2 woke up and revealed the map to them because they did find him. But yeah, there's got to be some good R2-Luke interactions in the next movie for me to be totally happy, so... Speaking of introductions, the Falcon was introduced really well. The fact that when they're running towards the ship, he's like, what about that ship? That's garbage. I thought, was that the Falcon they're talking about? Nah. And then all of a sudden, boom, it gets blown up, and you pan over to the Falcon, and I laughed, I cheered, I clapped, I was happy, it was amazing. And then the fact that she said, no, it hasn't flown in years. First of all, why is a ship that looks that good, even though it does look like garbage, but it's still obviously a ship that people would desire, you would think. Why has it not been flown in years? If it hadn't been flown in years because of technical or mechanical problems, how could she get it to fly so fast? I know it had its difficulties, but still, it's like starting a car after like 10 years in storage. It's kind of like there's going to be problems. I should know my Camaro was in storage for 15 years, and it's still not running the way I want it to. But anyway, and then to be able to fly it so proficiently, which makes sense because the controls are all basically the same on these kind of things. So, but that would be like expecting that car again to perform in a high-speed race, doing cornering and drifting and all this after not being serviced for years. Just yeah, it kind of stretched the realization or the believability factor for me a little bit. So, but anyway, that was a great introduction back of the Falcon, and the fact that you got to see the old targeting reticule with the little TIE fighter in there was amazing. And then when the gun stuck and they did the whole, and yeah, how'd you do that? It makes you wonder if they both have the Force and they're both kind of tied together, because for her to do that and for him to actually hit the TIE fighter with the locked gun, I don't know. It's just so much going on. It's just kind of a lot of coincidences, but that's movie land, right? But it just seems like too much coincidences sometimes. So just a thought. Now, one thing I do need to hear is the backstory on a few things. First of all, Luke's Jedi Academy and the training of Jedi he did. I want to learn about that. I'm sure that'll be influenced or referenced heavily in the next movie. That's probably where the flashbacks of Han will come in. Han introducing, like a younger Han introducing his son to Luke, and Luke saying, "Oh yeah, I can train him," and then you see a little bit of the academy and the training, and then what happened as far as betrayal went for Luke. That I think will be shown. That needed to be addressed more. Just hearing about the Jedi Academy, the Jedi's that Luke was training, the Jedi First Temple, the fact that the Falcon was stolen or lost in gambling, by and then stolen by another person, and 3 or 4 people between when we saw it last and where Han reacquires it. I need to see these stories. These are the stories that I want to learn about and I want to see or hear about. I mean, those are big bombshells to just drop and go, oh, well, just don't worry about that. So there's a lot of stuff we need to learn about in the next couple movies. The lightsaber fights were absolutely awesome. They weren't choreographed and all monkey jumping around, spinning blades. Like the first one, they're not fully trained Jedi. It's just hack, 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 hack. It's just like doing what you can to survive. And that's very realistic for me. I really enjoyed that. These aren't fully trained Jedi or Sith. They are just people that are put in a situation and need to deal with it. Even Luke had a little bit of training. That's why the lightsaber fights in the original trilogy were kind of more fluidic, more whatever, but not not like we saw in the prequels. And don't get me wrong, the prequel fights were amazing. That's how Jedi would fight in their prime, fully trained. They would have these amazing moves. And then the progression to Luke, who have a little bit of formal training from like Yoda, things like that, to this one now where Kylo Ren's been trained a little bit, but he hasn't had anybody to fight against. There's been no other Jedi with lightsabers to really practice with. So the fact that he's kind of rusty or crude about how he fights is very interesting. And the fact that both Rey and Finn are just trying to survive, getting hit. So the lightsaber fights were fantastic, but the convenience level of that ground splitting at the end when she had him on the ground, it was just too convenient. And I know, well, maybe the Force is the one that kept them apart because it wasn't time. Whatever. I get it. But, yeah. Anyway, next thing I want to talk about is Rey's powers. I love that she was so strong with the Force. Because the fact that she learned so quickly that she was so strong with the Force and learned kind of on her own how to use it. The stormtrooper that she mind tricks, I don't know if you guys know this, but that's Daniel Craig. That's James Bond in that costume doing those lines. So that's an interesting little fact. But the fact that she's stronger than Kylo Ren, and that kind of freaks him out. And Kylo Ren is Leia's kid. So, the female Jedi gene, I guess, isn't as strong passed down. I think that Rey, we're going to find out, is Luke's child. And it's going to be interesting also to find out how and why he left her on Jakku by herself without going to get her or anything. So, interesting things there. But the fact that when he was going to get the lightsaber out of the snow and it was shaking and it goes flying towards him and then right past his head, I thought, okay, it's Rey. But I've heard since then that some people thought it was Finn that kind of got back on his feet, which would have been a cool little twist as well. Or that Luke had showed up at that exact moment, which also would have been an interesting twist. So, but I'm glad it was Rey, and I'm glad that she is putting Kylo Ren in his place. The fact that he looks so shocked that she can like be so powerful in the Force is just awesome. I absolutely love that. Another thing, I just want to go back to Finn for a second. FN2187 is his number, or his name. That's a callback to Leia's cell number in A New Hope. Her cell number was 2187. So, nice little tie in there. I don't know, guys, if you knew that. And what planets did they... one of the planets that got destroyed looked a lot like Coruscant, and I was like, is that Coruscant? And since then I've heard somebody ask, is that Coruscant as well? But then I heard another name of the planets that were destroyed. I don't know if that was mentioned in the movies. I need to see these movies more. I've only seen it once, and I've heard that on the second, third viewings you pick up a lot more, so I need to see it more. I wanted to see it before I did this spoiler-filled review, but I think I've got my bases down enough that I wanted to get this out there, and I wanted it to be my initial first view reactions to it. So I might do another one after I see it 2 or 3 more times, depending on whether I pick anything else out that needs addition to this video. So if you're interested, stay tuned for that. One of the other things that was really interesting to me was all the little callbacks and humor. I mean, the humor was awesome in this movie. I loved it. I think the reason for that, though, is because the next one's going to be a lot darker, a la Empire Strikes Back. But the callbacks were great. Like the holochess or Tagelik game. I think it's called Tagelik. The guy who gets slammed in the first one gets his revenge in this one by using a mace to smash the guy. So, interesting thing there. Also, the McQuarrie art, the original McQuarrie art that was used for the original movies, was actually used in this one. They used it for Maz Kanata's Cantina. That was based on an original Cantina sketch by Ralph McQuarrie. The X-Wings are like the original concept where the round intakes split in half into 2 semicircles instead of 2 full circles. I prefer the look of the older X-Wings with the 2 full circles that both raise up and don't get split. I prefer that personally. I mean, when they're together on the new X-Wings, it looks good with the circle, but then to have them split, not a big fan of that look. Just something I should share with you guys. Also, BB-8 is based on the original design concept for R2-D2, where it's like a canister with a ball underneath, and he rolls on the ball. So just cool little things like that. Rey's costume was based on the original Luke Starkiller costume design. And there's also stormtrooper markings. Some of the Ralph McQuarrie stuff done for The Empire Strikes Back had stormtrooper markings on some of the helmets and stuff, which the new stormtroopers actually have on their chests, some of them. So great little callbacks and tie-ins there. That was absolutely awesome. All right, almost done, guys. Maz Kanata was really cool. A lot of people complain that she's too CG, but I don't think so at all. I mean, she's like the Yoda character, and I really like her. I think she's a friendly character. I can't wait to get to see more of her. I don't know if we will. I mean, her cantina got destroyed. Hopefully she didn't die or anything. I don't know if she'll be in the next ones, to be honest with you. But if she is, that'd be cool. I'd be down for seeing more of her. So there is that. The pacing of the movie was awesome. Like I said in my spoiler-free review, I sat down. Usually in a movie theater, I start to get shifty during some scenes because it's a little slow or whatever, or my butt gets sore like halfway through, so I got to do a lot of moving. This one, I was pretty much transfixed the whole time. The pacing was breakneck speed, awesome scene to scene to scene to scene. I loved it. Like I said, it was 2 hours. I could have done with another half hour at the end. Just to hear Luke talk, learn a little bit about what's going on, I could have sat through that. It would have been fine. But there's no real time to slow down and just kind of enjoy a scene because it's just boom, 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 next, next, next. It needed more marinating, some of those scenes, I think. Just needed more marinating, more time to take it in and kind of see what's going on. So one of my little complaints there. I loved BB-8, like I said, but I don't want him replacing R2-D2. That's just one of my main things. The thumbnail for this is probably going to be BB-8 and R2-D2 because that's my main love in Star Wars is R2-D2. So, and now BB-8. I like BB-8 too. So hopefully they can work together more and not be one a replacement for the other, as it were. Imperial officer Hux, I believe his name was too young as far as I was concerned. Couldn't take him seriously. Wasn't threatening. Wasn't intimidating. I can see him being the new Moff Tarkin, kind of working with Kylo Ren, but I couldn't really take him seriously. Just me again. Supreme Leader Snoke was interesting. Obviously had some battle damage. He pissed somebody off that had a lightsaber, which makes me wonder, considering his form, is that Darth Plagueis? I mean, if you listen, his theme music is very eerily similar to the opera that Chancellor Palpatine and Anakin were listening to when Palpatine was telling Anakin about Darth Plagueis. There's that tie-in. It makes you wonder. And the fact that Palpatine thought he killed him in his sleep, but Darth Plagueis had a way of defeating death. Makes you wonder if took this long to come back to where he is, and he's still not 100%, obviously. Just an interesting little tidbit there. I don't know if that's the case, but if he's Darth Plagueis, that'd be a nice tie-in. I think that would be beautiful, beautiful. So hopefully they do that justice. Now, one thing I noted, I mentioned the music there for a second, but the score I really didn't notice. And like I said, that's probably something I'm going to notice more in the third or fourth viewings. I noticed there's some swelling of music at times, some very reminiscent and similar music to tie into the original trilogy. But for the most part, I didn't notice the score. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's probably a good thing, as it fits so well that it just wasn't noticed by me. I just wasn't really listening for that the first time around, so I'm going to pay attention to it the next couple times I view it and see how it went. I just don't think it was quite as dynamic or impactful, perhaps, and that kind of concerns me, but I think it'll be fine. I don't know if you guys noticed it. Let me know. Almost done. So yeah, like I said, all the little callbacks, the little chess game where the guy gets his revenge, the little force remote on the Millennium Falcon. Great little things. I loved them. Those and all the humor. I mean, I think, like I said earlier, it's just because I think the next one's going to be so dark that you're not going to have much time for any humor, and just enjoy it while you can, guys. As I mentioned too, the new X-Wing is not a huge fan of them. I prefer the older style, but that being said, the new black with orange striping X-Wing looks amazing. I love that color. If it was an old style, I would like it even more, but awesome. And Poe Dameron's scene where he was flying around and he shot down like a bunch of TIE fighters and killed people on the ground, and it's all one continuous shot, was fantastic. That was awesome. That was pure JJ through and through action, and it was a winner as far as I was concerned. That was amazing to see. Need to see more stuff like that. One thing that disappointed me, there wasn't enough space battles. There were more space battles in the commercials for like the Jeep. I don't know if you saw the Jeep commercial where there's BB-8 in the X-Wing flying around the Star Destroyer, shooting down TIE fighters, and then hits the TIE fighter and spins and turns into like a streak, and then it zooms way out onto like Earth, and there's people sitting in a Jeep going, oh, it's so peaceful up there. There's more space scenes in that commercial than there was in the actual movie. I wanted more space battles. That's what I'm saying. And just 2 more points. Chewie should have... I know Chewie shot Kylo Ren, and Kylo Ren's like hitting himself to like create that pain and that anger to help him focus his force power. But Chewie should have blown his freaking head off. I mean, I'm not a fan of villains getting killed the first movie we see them in, like Darth Maul. Bad idea. They should not have killed him right away. So I think Chewie should have had a better shot. got him, or at least Chewie himself should have been killed. I mean, that's bad to say, but I think it would have been a real apropos for them to both die at the same time. I hated the fact that Han fell into a chasm, so we can't recover his body, and then the whole planet gets destroyed, which is not cool. So there's no real finality there. There's no funeral, and if that kind of upset me. And yeah, like I said, at the end, I could have watched another half hour of the movie. One of the things that kind of bothered me at the end is when she takes off in the Millennium Falcon, Rey does, and there's the whole group of the rebels or the resistance there, and the Falcon turns and then takes off. I expected all their faces and their bodies to be singed and just skeletons left. Like, she turns the ship with the engine facing the whole crowd of people and then engages the engine so that it's like, I expect to like burn off all their flesh. Anyway, guys, I think that's it for my spoiler-filled review. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you agree with some of my points, or if you disagree, whatever, I don't care. Just put them in the comments. Don't worry about spoilers. I said I might do an addition or a part 2 of this, kind of recap everything again after I've seen it a few times. I don't know if that's going to be the case because I don't want to bore you guys with hearing the same points over and over again. But like I said, I'm going to go see it a few more times, probably before January. Definitely by the end of January, I'll have seen it quite a few times. So I'll be able to speak better to it. I'll probably just maybe reply to your comments. I don't know yet. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. This is Captain Foley signing off, and may the Force be with you. Hope you guys enjoyed the movie. If you haven't seen it yet, you shouldn't have watched this video, but I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your comments. I want to hear your problems with the movie, the things you liked. Do it in the comments. And like I said, like I always say, be respectful to each other. You can disagree or have a different opinion and not be a complete asshole in the comments. If you're rude or insulting to people or myself, you will have your comment removed and you will be banned from the channel so that you cannot comment anymore. Just putting that out there. So anyway, guys, this is Captain Foley signing off. Until next time, be nice to each other. Bye.